Two things happened on June 10, 2025, that seemingly indicated an end to the feud between father and son. That is speaking about President Bola Tinubu and the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Those events have been given meanings and several interpretations by political observers. And that's what we'll be looking at. And the events that led to those two happenings on June 10, 2025, in this edition of Talking Politics and Other Issues with Dr. Oladipo. You are welcome to this edition. And don't forget that my name, as your host, remains Dr. Oladipo. I am the publisher of the Eagle Online. And we work in collaboration with one of the fastest and most authoritative YouTube channel worldwide. That is talking about the Eagle Online Nigeria. Like I said earlier in this edition of Talking Politics and Other Issues with Dr. Oladipo, we'll be seeing and analyzing the events that led to the seeming end of the feud between President Bola Tinubu and Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and what import the two events hold for the future of all the parties involved in the face-off between father and son, like Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu described it after a meeting of the Governance Advisory Council with President Tinubu on June 9, 2025. Now, on June 10, the first of the events that happened was the fact that Governor Sanwo-Olu was at the airport in Lagos, the presidential wing of the Muritala Mohammed International Airport, to see off President Tinubu, who was heading to Abuja after spending quite a number of days in Lagos, attending the 50th anniversary of the Economic Community of West African States, commissioning some projects, and then staying back to observe the Salah celebration in his private residence in Lagos. When Governor Sanwo-Olu appeared at the same airport when the president arrived, many Nigerians noticed that he was not acknowledged. He was not seen as visibly as it happened when the president was leaving, and was not given his due recognition in a statement that was issued by the presidency when President Tinubu arrived in Lagos. That statement that was signed by the special advisor on information and strategy to the president, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, only simply said that some Lagos State government officials were at the airport to welcome President Tinubu. That was unlike in the past, when the presidency would acknowledge the governor, his deputy, and other Lagos State government officials that were at the airport to welcome the president. And many people did not find this funny, especially those who had been following the seeming face-off between father and son, to use Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's words again. And then the second event of June 10 was the fact that after the president left, it didn't take long for Governor Sanwo-Olu to take to his ex-handle, supported by photographs of himself and his deputy, Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, seeing off the president. And he had some good words to say about what he has been doing to support the policies and efforts of the president as he clocked 2 years in office, running the affairs of Nigeria. Now, let me read to you exactly what Governor Sanwo-Olu wrote on his X handle along with those photographs. He said, "Today, I accompany His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and saw him off as he departed Lagos following the Salah break. I remain dedicated to supporting his efforts and policies, which aim to bring real and lasting change to the lives of Nigerians. I wish him safe travels and success in all his engagements. As always, Lagos stands ready to play its part in building the Nigeria we all hope for." And that's the end of the quotation. So the question to ask then, how was peace achieved between father and son in such a short time after we had seen these issues that played out while the president was in Lagos? We'll come back to that as we move on in analyzing how peace was achieved, what has happened, and what will likely happen in 2027. So how was peace achieved? A day before the president left, the members of the Governance Advisory Council, that's the highest advisory body to the Lagos State Governor. That body, by the way, was established by President Tinubu when he was the Lagos State Governor between 1999 and 2007. Members of the GAC, as they are well known, which is headed by Alhaji Tajuddin Olusi, who is the chairman, practically, like some describe it, stormed the Bodilon Ikoyi residence of the president in Lagos to plead on behalf of Sanwo-Olu for the president to forgive him. Those at that meeting quoted the president as having said, when he was told to respond with everybody in the room where the meeting took place, prostrating, "Your sins are forgiven," he was quoted to have said. Those who were part of that team, apart from Olusi, were Senator Gani Olanrewaju Solomon. We also had Senator Musili Obaniko, who was a former Minister of State for Defense. And also there was the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa. With that pronouncement, "Your sins are forgiven," members of the GAC were said to have expressed appreciation to the president. Indeed, what happened, according to what sources said, was the fact that the GAC members did not call on the president to state why he was against his own nominee for the governorship seat. So also was the governor not allowed to speak. What Olusi was said to have told the president was that they wanted him to forgive him, no matter what it is. And then they all laid flat on the floor, begging him. So, what happened before this? And which showed very clearly that there was indeed a serious feud between father and son, were numerous. That's apart from the one we initially mentioned, where Sanwo-Olu was ignored completely at the airport by the president, and then in the statement issued by the presidency when he arrived in Lagos. The other issues were the fact that Tinubu ignored Sanwo-Olu at the commissioning of the first 30 kilometers of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, which had 6 lanes. The Lagos part has had 30 kilometers completed. All well done with drainage lightings, and all the rest. The president did not acknowledge Governor Sanwo-Olu when he arrived. He shook hands with the dignitaries who had lined up to receive him at that ceremony. But when it came to the turn of Governor Sanwo-Olu, he skipped him and went on to have a handshake with the Kogi State Governor, Alhaji Usman Ododo. It was very glaring because it didn't take minutes for that video to go viral. And then also in his speech at that occasion, the president also did not mention Governor Sanwo-Olu, even as the host governor. And the third event that happened at that same ceremony was the fact that instead of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu responding on behalf of his colleagues as the host governor at that event, it was the Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, who spoke on their behalf. So many new things were wrong. So, yours sincerely went into town to ask, to nose around. What could have happened? Why are they at loggerheads? Is it solely about the removal of the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, over which Sanwo-Olu was accused of having played a significant role by allegedly providing support financially to the lawmakers who impeached Obasa? Yes, we were told that could have been a part of that problem. But the major issue, from what we learned, was that the president was not happy with Babajide Sanwo-Olu for losing Lagos State in the presidential election of 2023. You will recall, viewers, that in 2023, the president lost the state to the candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. And a lot of people were shocked that this could happen. However, you will also recollect that Sanwo-Olu was seeking a second term some 2 weeks later, 3 weeks, because there was an extension by a week, won his own election, and easily so, over the candidates of the Labour Party. According to sources, when investigations were conducted, it was found out, allegedly also, that the All Progressives Congress, the party on which platform the president, then Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, ran for election, had no agents in virtually all the polling units. That was the claim. And why did this happen? Also, investigations were said to have revealed that those agents were not mobilized in terms of money. And as such, they did not show up at their polling units. A lot of questions were asked also by yours truly, because you will recollect, viewers, that in the countdown to the 2023 polls, there was a huge scarcity of cash because of the policy that was implemented by the outgoing regime of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Not so many people had cash with them. Not even the top echelons in government, who could easily have moved into the Central Bank of Nigeria to mobilize cash. This did not happen. What a lot of people depended on at that time were bank transfers, and which did not translate into cash to move around. In Lagos, it was even worse, because not so many people could move around on election day easily. So those who did not move before the election day were stranded. So going forward, according to our sources, it was found out that the agents were not paid, and as such, they did not show up at the polling units. This was said to have made the president angry, and it was said that he wondered how it happened that he lost his own election and Sanwo-Olu won. According to what we learned, it was even the president that went a step further to ensure that the governor did not lose his own election. That new agents were appointed to man polling stations for the governorship election, and that the postponement of that election by the Independent National Electoral Commission helped in a great way to assist the APC in recovering from the fall from the presidential election. Now, despite the fact that the margin was not wide in terms of figures, the president was said to have been displeased that he lost. And this was what happened in Lagos for the presidential election. The candidate of the Labour Party, as we said, Peter Obi, won in Lagos with 582,454 votes, which accounted for 45.81% of the votes. Asiwaju Tinubu came in second with 573,606 votes, 45.04% of the votes, and less than 10,000 votes with which he lost. The candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, came a very distant third, scoring just 5.96% of the votes, having polled 75,750 votes. So that was where we were told the president first had issues with the governor. And like a source said, when the president is angry with you, he doesn't pretend. He doesn't hide it. He shows it so that you know and be in a position to retrace your steps. And it seemed that the governor got that sign quite easily, especially after the face-off that came up from the removal of Speaker Obasa in January of this year. The governor was accused of having had a hand in it by doling out what some put at 30 million naira each to all the legislators who were opposed to Obasa's continuing in office as Speaker. The governor has denied this and has asked anybody who got that kind of money from him to speak up. But it appears he wasn't believed. And that was why at some point, as we reported earlier, he was asked to tender his resignation letter, especially after Obasa was reinstated. And at the point when the president came into Lagos and the GAC members met with him, it appeared to us that Sanwo-Olu had gotten the drift of what the president wanted. And what were the signs that we saw? Number one was the fact that Governor Sanwo-Olu has been speaking more about the president at every given opportunity. What some called more of publicity stunts for the president by Governor Sanwo-Olu. One of it was when he took on Peter Obi at a lecture he delivered in the United Kingdom. If you go to the Igbo Online, that lecture was reproduced there and the story on it was written. Check it out at www.theeagleonline.com.ng. In that lecture, He hailed the president and did a lot of work in combating the figures that Peter Obi put out to the world in terms of where Nigeria is. He also wrote an opinion on the second anniversary of the president in office. In that opinion, he provided facts and figures to prove that President Bola Tinubu had done well in his 2 years in office. And then we were told that indeed work has started in Lagos for the re-election bid of President Bola Tinubu in 2027. So what will be the consequences of this on the upcoming election vis-a-vis the division that was initially the lot of the APC, especially after the removal of Obasa from office and even after his reinstatement? Some said APC is almost together now because all the tendencies have been brought together. The lawmakers who removed Obasa, they've returned him to office. The governor has reconciled with his father. Obasa too is back in the fold. And don't forget, we've always told you, one of the biggest political machineries of the governor is being led by Obasa. That's the mandate, as it is known. And nothing has changed, whether before the removal or after the removal of Obasa from office. And the mandate, we are told, is still going to play a huge role in the re-election bid of the president and also in the upcoming elections in 2027 for the APC in Lagos State. And a lot of people believe that, yes, things are back together. But there are still those who said it could be a piece of the graveyard. And what are the arguments on this side? The first is the fact that Sanwo-Olu will still feel humiliated, as they put it, to quote them, that he had to go through this route in order to sit again comfortably on his seat after having been asked to resign. There are also, on the flank, the aggrieved 37 lawmakers who removed Obasa in the first instance. They are still saying that they have not been fully integrated into the affairs of both the Assembly by Obasa and the APC in Lagos State. All of them have their fears about the fact that they may not get a return ticket to the Assembly, and as such, may not, according to our sources, work fully and freely with and for the APC in the upcoming election. How this is going to be resolved also is what a lot of people are looking at. Because where you have 37 lawmakers who do not feel very comfortable with the system, there could be a lot of problem. So, as they have said also, Obasa too is still also aggrieved that in the first place, he was removed. And he still feels that that should not have happened in the first instance. And then you add the fact to it that his son, Abdul Ganiyu, who was propelled by a lot of people and projected to run for the chairmanship of Agege local government area, is still not in the race for having gone through a primary that was filled with a lot of bitterness. That election comes up in a few months. In fact, the fear is that having not had his way in some of the areas where he is believed to have some form of influence, That is talking about Agege and the local council development areas that were created out of it. Obasa is also still not feeling too good with the APC. Because at this level, he feels having served the president, having served the party, he should have been given some opportunities to also produce candidates for the local government election. There are also the GAC, members of the Governance Advisory Council, whose candidates candidates that they supported lost out in the primaries for the local government election. And those who are also positioning candidates, aspirants for the upcoming 2027 election are not certain, with all the tendencies within the party, that they will get a headway. Most of those in the GAC are obviously not seeking for positions in 2027, but they are sponsoring aspirants that they believe will represent their interests in the party, so that they could have a say in governance from 2027. How all of this will pan out, we are still watching and waiting to see what gives way, what happens. With the resolution of the feud between President Tinubu and Governor Sanwo-Olu, a lot will happen in the coming weeks, especially as it relates to the primaries that was conducted for the local government election coming up in Lagos State. Will there be some tinkering here and there? Can the party still have a way in adjusting things? Time will tell. But don't forget that as things happen, we'll be here to keep you up to date, up to speed, by the minute, by the seconds. So until we come your way again, don't forget that we will appreciate if you like this video, if you share it, and if you subscribe to our channel. We also have other social media handles that we want you to follow us, because by the minute, by the seconds, we drop very vital information for you there, videos that you will find useful from time to time. So go to our bio and please like those videos and follow us on all our social media handles. Until I come your way again, my name remains Dr. Oladipo, your host on Talking Politics with Dr. Oladipo and other issues. And I'm also the managing editor of the Eagle Online. So we see you in our next edition. Bye.